Hello and welcome to Raven's Arcana. I am Raven and this is Raven's Rants. So today we're going to be talking about judgment. Now we all judge. We judge people based on their actions, what they say, what they do, where they're from, what they look like. We try not to. I mean, if you're a good person. But there's stereotypes that exist in our head through conditioning, through just really ingrained thoughts and emotions about events we've had, how we were raised, and we really need to get out of that. And I know these rants sometimes sound like this is exactly what I think, this is how I feel all the time. It is not. This is me venting. This is me working through some of this shit that might not be valid, that I might have stereotypes. I might have things that I bring forward into the world and they come out as judgment, as stereotyping, as assuming someone is the way they are. And this is a topic that I think a lot of people know about. They try to work through. But the old saying that you don't really know someone until you walk a mile in their shoes. Now, what does that look like? That looks like you having a conversation with them and figuring out why they think a certain way, why they feel a certain way, why they act a certain way. Do we really know another person? Can we really get in there without conversation and just only function with assumption? Do we know what their home life was when they were younger? Do we know what type of town, what type of environment, what type of culture they were raised in? Do we know if their parents were good people or bad people and projected their insecurities, their conditioning, their stereotypes, in extreme cases, racism and hate on them, their beliefs? And I know I followed up racism and hate with beliefs, but beliefs get ingrained into our system, into our psyche, and we use those to judge the world, to perceive the world and process information. And another thing is, have you ever really walked a mile in your own shoes? Now that sounds really philosophical, but a lot of the things we do tend to be automated, where our subconscious really just takes over. And if we have things that are conditioned within our psyche, that are ingrained, that are knee-jerk reactions that we don't really think through, then we are not really walking a mile or walking in our own shoes. This is an automated existence. So getting to know people before you make judgments, and once again, this is elementary, and I understand that, but a lot of us, including myself sometimes, have assumptions. We even try to understand psychology. Oh, they must have had a father or a mother that raised them this way, or they had traumatic events, right? And that's the go-to for psychology, typically, right? At least on a surface level. A lot of it has validity, though. Do I know what someone who was raised in another country and another belief system, that listened to different music, watched different types of news, had different influences, is really all about or really like, or what they really think? I do not. The only way we can get to the bottom of all the bullshit that we're dealing with in the world is to come together and communicate, to learn about people. And I mentioned walking a mile in someone else's shoes, and that's a popular phrase that we all use, and it's used, but do we really know what that means? Can we really sit back and think about what it must be like to be that other person? What events have they gone through, or are they going through, before we say, you drink too much? I talked about pharmaceuticals. Before you use a Band-Aid pharmaceutical, why do you believe this way? One, why are we angry at that person? Typically, we get angry at people, or we judge them, or we make assumptions because we do not understand. Assumption is a form of projecting ignorance. We don't know about the situation. We're not stupid. We just can't possibly understand why a person feels, thinks, says, or does certain things if we don't understand what experiences they have gone through their whole life. The only way to understand that, and we can never completely understand unless technology allows us to have visions of their events, right? If they can open up to us, then we can understand, we can share information. The judgment, the stereotypes, the racism, the attacking of belief systems, all of that starts to fade a little bit when we understand why a person is the way they are. And once again, I know this is elementary. We all know this, but we still allow ourselves to push people away, to judge people, to view people a different way. And we're viewing people from the vantage point of our experiences, our conditioning, our excess baggage, our thoughts and emotions. The only way that we can work through that is to work on ourselves and be the best, true, authentic version of ourselves, and then embrace other people. And hopefully they are trying to work on themselves as well. But if they're not, maybe they're not in the right place. Maybe they don't know how to get to point B from point A. And that's where we all come in. We can share our experiences, even though they're not going to be exactly the same. We can share our knowledge, our wisdom that we've gained, and try to understand. And if we disagree, it's okay. We're not supposed to be all the same. We're not all supposed to be, the same exact people. We're supposed to balance each other out. Can you imagine if all the music sounded the same, if it was all the same genre? If we ate all the same fucking food all the time? If cultures didn't exist and it was just one, they talk about the melting pot. Yes, the melting pot is a good idea, that everything comes together and we make better things and we evolve. And I can put my spin on something that I ate in the Northeast or in another country. I can create music and art based on influences and inspiration from other people. But with judgment, we're not taking motivation and inspiration from others typically. I don't like the way that sounds. I don't like the way that looks. I don't like the way that makes me feel. Well, it might not be for you. And it's probably not for you if you feel that way because you do not understand where it's coming from. So be careful. And I have to be careful. All of us do. On assumption. Assumption is born from ignorance. Judgment is born from ignorance. It is not knowing what makes up that person's soul, their thoughts, their emotions. And if we start to work on ourselves first and embrace other people with less jaded, less conditioned, assumptive minds, then it helps us understand. It helps us come together. It helps us compromise. Compromise is not a bad thing. Coming together and figuring out how we can all coexist is paramount on this planet. So work through things, step back, and once again, be able to walk a mile in your own shoes and be perceptive of how you act, how you emote, what you think, how you affect other people. Because there's little moments in this world where we meet someone we might not ever meet again, that you can give them a little glimpse, a little insight into a person that they might assume you are a certain way, but you change their mind. You make them laugh. You make them think. You make them understand. Because they bring those stereotypes and everything else with them from their conditioning, their past. And they're probably assuming you're a certain way based on how you look, where you're from, what you drive, how you dress, what your hair looks like, what tattoos you have on your body. But if you give them a little insight into, I'm a good person, I can be kind, I can make you laugh, I can help you pick up all the change you just dropped up off the ground, I can hold the door for you, I can ask you about your tattoo, about your shirt, where did you get that? What does that mean? That looks amazing. And we embrace other people and pass those little bits of insight in those moments. And those people carry that with them. And it helps to change the world. We can absolutely change the world. And typically it's going to be in the little moments, in the little interactions, where we allow people to understand us, or we allow ourselves to understand a little bit more about that person. And once again, it helps for the stereotypes, the jaded conditioning, racism, hate, assumption, all the bullshit that we want to move past and evolve from to fade away. So thank you so much for your time. If you stuck around to the end, I appreciate it. If you like the video, give it a like. If you enjoy the content, not only this, but the tarot readings and everything else, and you're not subscribed, you can subscribe. You can hit the notification bell if you want alerts for future releases of material. And yeah, try to understand people. Embrace them. Remove the conditioning and the judgment. Take care.